Welcome to another edition of the Effective Living series, which is happening here on Citi FM and on Citi TV. This year, our focus is on a starter pack for 2023. We're in our third week, and our focus is on professional priorities. We've been talking about leading self, personal development, and also discussing issues around top skills for 2023. Today, we'll be looking at making successful career transitions. So what is a career transition? Why do people fail in their career transitions? What kind of preparation do you need to succeed? And what are some tips to be nimble and productive in your career? My guest has spent over 20 years of his life working in the corporate world. He's consulted, he's worked in various industries. Now he works for the Lord as a minister of the gospel, where he pastors churches in the UK, in Ghana, and in Pakistan. Reverend Kweku Ofori-Darcy is my guest. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Was there a good summary of who you are?
I think that's fair.
It's interesting. So you did a lot of corporate work, and now you are doing ministry.
Yes.
Ministry work.
Yes.
And your corporate work spanned what sectors?
Finance. I started first in the finance industry, and then to healthcare, and then to technology, and then to government industries, airline.
Wow.
And then what else? Engineering. I think that's the name, but a few.
Amazing. And now you're working for the Lord.
I work solely for the Lord now.
So do you bring those things into ministry, or you count them as lost?
No, not at all. I actually do. But I do get to also have sessions like these. I speak to corporate sections a lot. I speak in various company events still. But largely, I circle it all back to working in the house of God. So
Brilliant. So what is a career transition? Maybe let's start from there.
Career transition is simply the process of making a change in your career. And that's literally it. Why should anyone care about it? Because it's important. The way you start any career determines really the degree of success that you're going to gain in it. A lot of people fail in it. Many company directors end up complaining after having hired somebody for about maybe 2-3 months. They go, man, we make the wrong decision. So at least the degree to which you can prepare yourself well so you can succeed in it. One, you give your own self a win, and then of course the company also gets to win for hiring such a good person like you.
So when I look at your career, it's very clear you've made many transitions. And it's almost like you are a work in progress. So it's something you're very familiar to. Was it a conscious, in your own experience, were you consciously making these transitions? Or it's almost iterative and you sort of reflect and realize that, wow, in 25 years I've done all of this?
I think it's a bit of both. There was a time where I was sort of just going. Over some 20 years ago, like many of you, I also did my MBA, finished it, got hired in a company somewhere in the US. Still really didn't know what to do, but at least I had people who would direct me. This is the best way to go this direction, and I followed it. But at some sense, you get to gain some clarity as to, actually, I really like this area better. And then you tend to now build yourself, which is what I did. So it wasn't like I started knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I had to find my way through it. Yeah.
Why do people fail a career transition?
Well, let me first of all start by maybe giving examples of what career transitions are.
Okay.
Career transitions really is anything from, let's say, the stay-at-home mom now wants to return to work, having stayed at home for the last 5-10 years, taking care of the children, but is educated, feels now want to return to work. What does she need to do? It could be a military veteran who now is coming back into civil life, but of course wants to enter the corporate life really to get something done. Let's say an IT professional, or even some of these great cameramen here decide, I want to start a company by myself. These are all career transitions. But I thought that since today is really we're dealing with professional priorities for the year 2023, I want to particularly zoom in on professionals and what career transitions look like for them. So for professionals, largely career transitions will mean things like, say I've just been praying, thank God I've got a promotion I want, or somehow you've decided to make a change from maybe a particular business unit. Maybe I was in finance, now I want to go to sales. I'm going to become the manager in sales. Or maybe you've moved from one particular city, still in the same organization, but you've moved across to a particular or a different region or a different city, but in the same organization. And now you're going to have to deal with having to lead people. And then also is the challenge of leading people that were your peers and the challenge that comes with it. You were friends.
Now you're the boss.
Now you're the boss. And the dynamics of it and how they're going to look at you. So these are sort of examples of career transitions that professionals do go through. I think it's fair to say particularly the people that would largely benefit from what I'm sharing today are going to be, let's say, new managers, people who've just been promoted into new roles, they're new managers, or maybe they're even existing managers or aspiring managers. A lot of what I'll discuss today will benefit them largely, but of course it will be include aspects here and there.
Just listening to you, I can see probably 3 or more broad groups. So clearly there's the reinvention type of things, like not working, coming to work, or military veteran coming to start corporate life. So it's basically like it's a new green field.
Yes.
Then I see horizontal transition.
Yes.
So I'm in engineering, I want to move into finance, or I'm into medicine and I really want to go into hospitality.
Yes.
I'm tired of, or I'm in journalism and I want to go into banking.
Fantastic.
Then I see the vertical, which is more like, you know, I used to be a cameraman. I'm now the head of production, and I'm now the production manager. I see. So you're saying, whilst everybody can benefit, the emphasis is more the vertical.
For now, yes. And there will be aspects that will be beneficial really across board. But I want to focus more on the person that's just been given the opportunity to now climb higher, and the expectations of those that trusted him to go higher, and what it is that he needs to do to make sure that he doesn't fail now that he's gotten higher. You know, I remember reading a book years back. Former Prime Minister of England, Tony Blair, made an interesting statement, and I just paraphrase it. He said, when he became a prime minister, one of the things he quickly realized was that the efforts that it takes to get to the office had nothing to do with what it takes to actually run the office. I was reading a book the other day, a great title, What Got You Here Will Not Get You There. And so there are changes that need to happen. And very often you will find, and it's a good segue into why people fail. You'll find that a lot of reasons why people fail in those transitions is they tend to give a lot of focus on the very things that they were good at that got them promoted in the first place. So now they've become a manager and they're still doing those things because they thought, well, I was good at them. They made me a manager because of this, and they're still doing it. But now you're a manager is different. You're going to have to learn to let things go. You're going to have to learn to delegate more. Have to learn to just lean on other people who probably may not do it as good as you to do what you thought you could do better. And usually just hanging on to it, it becomes one of the risks that really...
I mean, this is such a powerful thing you said. It's almost like what it takes to win is not what it takes to lead. And a lot of leaders, even in this context, running an election, and I can even say that about our political parties, that they are election-winning machines, but they don't really govern with the same level of excellence that they run their election campaign. So that's a very profound point. So what are some of the transitions in the mind, maybe, that people need to make? Because you were saying, for example, that some of your colleagues would have been your... I mean, now you're their boss. Okay. So is it more a mental shift? Is it having a bigger car? Is it changing the way I walk and the tone in which I talk? That will let me know that I'm now the boss.
Well, there's a bit of that, but not quite. But I think that the first thing is you need to be aware of the potential pitfalls. So one being the fact that you are good at something doesn't mean that you need to continue to do them. Another being that, you know, somehow a lot of people just fail badly at building important relationships that they need. You're never going to be able to just succeed as a manager just working in silos. The fact that you don't like somebody doesn't mean that you don't have to work with them. And as a matter of fact, in one of the things I'll talk about as we go ahead is really the need to build very strong network, groups of people that are going to help you succeed. And some of those people will include people who don't like you. So does that mean you don't have to go to them? No, you still have to go to them. And so and then again, another thing is some, let's say, especially those who come in from the outside. We've just hired a new manager. He came in from so-and-so TV station. They think they're bigger, they know it all. So they come in thinking, I have all the answers. I can do everything. And so they come in with a mindset that right from the outset, belittling everybody that's there, and very quickly they make themselves unlikable. Nobody likes them. And you know, people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. So regardless of how much you bring in, it's like, who are you? And so though they're intelligent, but they don't succeed in the role. And so you have to first be mindful of these pitfalls. Why are these important? Because really, you have to make sure you prepare yourself so well, avoiding all the pitfalls, avoiding all the challenges that could make you fail.
We'll come to that in a second. Just to announce again, this is the Effective Living series, and we're talking making successful career transitions. My guest, Reverend Kweku Foridazi, who's a pastor, but he's consulted, he's done all kinds of things in his life, and he's basically explained to us what a career transition is. He's painted a very vivid picture of that, and then he's also highlighted why people fail. It's very clear that some people do not adequately learn what they need to learn and how they need to transition, and they don't build the right relationships and networks and alliances they require. And then others stick to what they know. They don't want to learn any new things. So you were touching on why it's important to prepare well in career transition. I wanted you to elaborate a bit on that.
Yes. And that's simply because I read a book the other day. It's an interesting book, and I highly recommend that book. It's called The First 90 Days. And all professionals out there, it's a great book for you to read. By Michael Watkins. I think it's a Harvard professor, or was a Harvard professor. And he says this, he makes this statement in the book, that the president or presidents get 100 days to prove themselves. The rest of us get 90 days. In other words, within your very first 90 days of starting any organization, your bosses are simply going to make a decision whether we should keep you or let you go.
Okay.
And so you now have to prove yourself that I was a good investment, that you did not hire the wrong person. And that in order for you to also be that effective within that period, your preparation is very, very, very key. And there are a set of at least principles I believe I'll share today that would help you better prepare yourself in order to make a good career transition.
So the first 90 days are critical. First impressions are important.
Very important.
You don't get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yes. It's a good quote from Will Rogers.
So these are key points to do. So I think you made a point that without good preparation, you will fail in your career transition.
Yes, you will fail. And ignoring all the things that actually contribute, these are all very known things. And usually if you would spend some time maybe speaking to, if there is a very good HR team there, speaking to them, they would tell you, share with you some of the things or the very challenges that people who have done their job in the past failed in, or the things that caused them to fail. They will share those things with you so you don't end up repeating them. And so just be very, very intentional about the necessary learning you need to do. And what does it entail? The key component is really how quickly you learn. You have to learn very, very fast. If I remember an old boss of mine saying to me, Kweku, if you're not good to me in 1 month, you're out of here.
Hey.
Okay. Of course, he didn't mean that literally because, you know, it was a job that probably had about a 6-month probation and all of that. But what he was saying is that in 1 month, you would know whether this person is it or not. And so there is a whole series of learning you must do. If I can continue with that? Or
Yes.
So learning in particular, you have to start with, 3 key areas. Number one, what are all the technology, every aspect of technological learning I need to do within the company? So yes, I've joined this company. Maybe the previous company, there were a set of softwares and applications they used to use. Now here they're using something different. You don't suddenly come in to change things. Learn what is this? What are the technology applications that I need to be aware of? The systems I need to be aware of. Getting to understand what really the processes there that I need to really master. You got to get that.
So you're talking about technical learning.
Pure technical
within the learning area.
Yes.
But apart from technical learning, what other learning do you need to do?
And then you need to learn about the culture.
Cultural learning.
The culture of the organization, yes. You have to get to know really what's the language, how do people behave here, what are attitudes like, what do people do when they really want to just let it all out? I mean, how do people just get on? And you have to really start speaking the lingo.
You must learn the culture of the place.
Absolutely.
If you will thrive.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Does that include the politics of the place?
Well, that actually is the third point.
Okay.
The politics is very, very key. And this is where a lot of people fail. Because most people, you know, transition saying, I don't like the politics, I'm going to leave it to them. But here's what you need to know. Every organization, whether it's a church, whether it's a whatever company you can think of, organizations are inherently political.
Yeah.
And you really serve your own self a whole lot of good if you learn to at least know who are the key decision makers here? Who are the power people, the big influencers? Who are the people and how do they make decisions? And how do I get close to getting to know big decisions even before they are made? This is very, very, very key. And very often some of these things you will find them among people actually that you don't like. And that's the problem. If you now shy away from it, you're in trouble.
So learn from everybody, including people you don't like.
Learn from everybody.
Let's come to the next point. So apart from learning very fast, you talk of understanding the situation the business is in.
Understand the situation the business is in. Every business really is at some point in a particular position. Now, whether maybe, of course, it's a new company. New companies, of course, the way things will be done probably will be a little bit different. If it is a company maybe that has existed, but it's not really quite achieving the results, you come with that understanding, the way you also get on with things will be a little bit different. And then, of course, it could also be a company that's really doing very, very, very well. It's already successful. They need somebody like you to bring in your expertise to maintain that success. Or sometimes it's a company that was doing well some time back and somehow has dipped. That's why they've brought you in. And so understanding the position the organization in sets your priorities as to how I'm going to approach, how I'm going to really succeed in this transition that I've made.
So whether they're in a new business or they are in transition themselves or they are about to wind up, and then whether they are re-energizing themselves. So you need to learn that.
You need to.
Do you learn that when you enter or before you get in?
Well, it starts. That's a great question. I often say that your career, whatever transition you enter in, it starts the very day you get told that you've been offered a job.
Okay.
You don't wait till you now start the job. So, and very averagely, maybe you might get the offer maybe a month or two even before you start. That very day, you begin. I remember saying this at a particular meeting the other day, and somebody said to me, no, I start mine when I start and make the decision that I wanted, even before I apply. But the key is do a lot of work before you enter. And then when you enter, move with the speed of light.
All right. There's a point I needed you to emphasize, which is the third point on your slide. You talk about line up with business priorities. In interviewing people for work, usually I find that some people come with their own priorities. It's like, oh, when I come, I want to do reporting on agri. About who tells you you're interested in agri? So I want to do social issues. I'm like, I'm hiring you and you are telling me what you want to do. You're not telling me what problem you want to solve for me.
There you go.
And a lot of times it doesn't end well, as far as I'm concerned. Now, can you comment a bit about that, where people sort of come with their own priorities without trying to understand what the company's priorities are?
That's a bad idea from the beginning. Regardless of whatever you think you can do, you were not hired to come and change the modus operandi. You have to always know what is it that business is trying to achieve. And if you've been hired as a manager, how do you align your team to the priorities of the business? And it starts really with you lining up with your boss. I say this all the time. Your number one priorities are your boss's priorities.
Okay.
If your boss wants to achieve this, you need to make sure that you line up with them. And of course, the assumption is that your boss is also going to align with his boss and then eventually goes right to the very top. So don't just come in with anything that sits outside of what the business actually wants to do. And then you have to also try and negotiate with your boss what success looks like. What would it take for your boss to say, I'm glad I hired you? What would it take? What does your boss define as good? You need to have a very clear template of what good looks like. Having that understanding. And then again, also you have to now line up with your boss on how to work with your boss. There are some managers that just don't like to be contacted anyhow. I find in my own personal experience that sometimes I would meet maybe my subordinates, and the minute they meet me on the corridor somewhere, oh boss, this, that, oh this, that. No, 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 no. I don't always want to have those conversations. Sometimes I don't even want to talk about it.
I just want to have coffee.
Exactly.
This is not
right?
a place you can bring your stress to me.
This is not a place for it.
Yeah.
And by the way, you could have sent me an email about it. So you need to understand the way your bosses also like to communicate. So you don't end up just sending things anyhow. These are the things that make you not a likable person.
Does this priority alignment include expectation management?
Absolutely. Let me say, how does your boss like to engage? Or not even your boss, your entire stakeholders, the people that end up feeding off the work you do. What do they want from you? What do they expect from you? When do they like to see things done? How punctual, timing, accuracy, all of those things needs to be clearly defined. Of course, in defining expectations, you need to also define very clearly what not to do. It's not only what we're going to do and how you want it done, but what we're also not going to do. These are very key also to make sure that you achieve.
We're still talking effective living, making successful career transitions. My guest is Reverend Kweku Foridazi. These are mind-boggling insights he's bringing to us. Making successful career transitions, learn very fast, understand the business situation, line up priorities. We have a few more areas to go through.
Yes.
So you talk about establishing a clear direction for your team. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So now you've sat with your boss, at least your boss has helped you gain some sense of direction as to this is what now I'm going to achieve. You are, I'm assuming, if you're a manager, then definitely you're going to potentially at some point oversee a team. But you need to have at least a clear sense of direction for them. So that means elaborating very clearly, what exactly are we going to do as a team? Why are we going to do it? This is about creating energy. I heard the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, was asked a question the other day. What do you look for when you're hiring people? Good CVs? He said, no, I don't even look at CVs at all. Two important things I look at. Number one, do they create clarity? And number two, do they create energy?
Wow.
And so you want to hire people. You really want to be the kind of person that, first of all, create clarity not only for your team, everybody that works with you and everybody that depends on your work, that you are very clear as to what it is that you are doing, why we're doing that. And then, of course, really, creating energy in a way that people just want to always work with you. You know, I say that you're really not a good manager if people feel they have to work for you. You have to turn people from having to work for you to wanting to work for you.
And with you.
And with you. And that's really the vision that you give, you sell to the team.
So let's come to building a team then.
Yes.
Because you speak in the context of some of this being entering a new leadership role. How do you build the team then in this career transition? Well,
team building for me always starts with what exactly the mission that the team needs to achieve that contributes to the larger priorities are. And so, you know, I've had many instances where you will find that a particular team is supposed to do A, but the structure of the team does not align. And that's very key. It's, in fact, a large part of my consulting work was actually done in that space, that just helping organizations really just define very clearly what their mission is and how that translates into structure. But of course, you have to also make sure that really you have the right people on the team. So the selection process becomes very key. If it is a new team, of course, then it means you now have to hire a new organization, you have to hire new people and so on and so forth. If it is an existing organization, sometimes it's about repurposing the team that you already have. It's about restructuring the team to now fit what your vision for that particular team is. And again, you have to also make sure you set out very clearly, this is how we're going to do our work. Your approach to work, your strategy, whatever methodologies you want to engage in, setting those things very clear. These are all part of setting the direction that really enforces the building of the team that actually is going to actually now engage in this. Another key thing is also about making sure that there is a clear pathway for great communication. In building a team, what was it? I read the other day again, it says this, a quote somewhere. Sorry, I keep saying I read this. I just like to read, so forgive me. I read somewhere, I can't remember where I read it. It says, bad news is good news when it comes in early. And so you want to set up establish a channel within the team that doesn't make people afraid to come and say, I made a mistake. So somebody's not going to make a big error and then just hide it anywhere. Create a culture that just makes it okay for people.
So that it allows the company to react quicker.
React very quickly.
That's crucial, particularly for the team, so that
Absolutely.
if there's something that they sense could be a problem, they should raise it early.
As soon as we know what's bad, we stand a better chance in actually whether mitigating whatever that risk is going to pose or whatever issue it is, resolving it. You stand a much better chance in dealing with it quicker the earlier you know it.
But I noticed that the leader sets the tone for that, because in my work I noticed that if I am approachable and I sort of, the way I deal with when you bring bad news decides when you bring me more. If I sort of punish you for being the bearer of bad news, and I start sort of like, this guy is bad luck guy, then I'm not going to get the insights I need.
Yes.
So I think the leader sets the tone for that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's very key. But of course, you don't also want to have somebody that only brings you bad news all the time. You have to have a way of making sure that your people don't only bring in the bad news, but at least they also come with a suggestion as to what it takes to resolve whatever that bad news is. Else then everything now falls on the leader to now find the solutions. And that's not why we hire people. We hire people because there's a problem and we believe they can actually do it. So come and tell me the bad news, but also come with an idea as to how we can get about it.
Let's talk about networking.
This is a big one. Again, many years ago, my mentor in the company I was working for, I asked him a question. So, hey, how do I become successful in my role? And he says, I have 3 things to tell you. Number 1, network. Number 2, network.
Oh, Lord.
Number 3, network. I'm like, okay, I get it.
I get it.
But really, it's 3 key areas. Number 1, network is what I call the operational network. Who are the people that I need in my corner to make sure that my day-to-day work is a success all the time? This includes your team, includes your boss, includes, in some cases, even your clients. Anybody that contributes to your day-to-day work, that forms part of what we call your operational network. And then is also what we call your strategic network. Strategic network are the people that will help you understand what is happening in the business. Who are the people that I need in my corner to be able to help me know where opportunities are in the business so we can tap into it, to help me get a clear sense of where dangers are, so at least we can deal with them before they even happen.
Amazing. I mean, we've run out of time.
Have we?
I
My
wish,
goodness.
my Lord. The couple of final points that you mentioned: score some quick wins, and then manage yourself.
Yes.
If you can just elaborate 10 seconds.
You're in the organization, you're learning fast, everything is going well. One of the things you need to quickly establish is credibility.
Yes.
And to establish that, you need to at least find some quick problems that are not very big to solve and solve them very, very quickly. As soon as you do them, what that does is you now build trust among the people. And then, what's the other one you said again?
And then manage yourself.
Manage yourself. In the process of all of this transition, you have to pay attention to yourself. Don't focus on the things, like I said earlier, that you were very, very good at, and then now you have to let go. You have to ask yourself, what is it that I am so good at that I need to stop doing? You have to ask yourself, what is it that maybe I'm not as good, but I need to pay a lot more attention to? And what is it that I'm not doing at all, but I need to learn? All of these things is just helping you literally promote yourself, manage yourself.
I definitely need to bring you back on air, and I definitely need to tell people how to reach you. And so, look, this has been awesome. It's 30 minutes of condensed insights. Reverend Kweku Foridazi, how to successfully transition your career. How can we find you? Where are you?
Well, I have a consultant firm that's also running here. In fact, we actually just about finished a website that's going to come out. And so you can reach us on ads-sterling.com, ads-sterling.com.
Fantastic.
Every information that will be there, so you can have my contacts, all of it from there.
Thank you, Reverend Kweku Foridazi, speaking to us on Effective Living Series. This is the last for the 3rd week. We're back with more. Thank you for watching.